Today, we're jumping into a really incredible story from the Book of Numbers. It's an ancient spy mission, with giants and massive cities and a promised land on the line. But really, at its heart, it's about something that's super relevant to all of us today. How our perspective, what we choose to see, literally creates the world we live in.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. What if those giants you see in your own life, those walls that seem way too high to climb, what if they're really just reflections of what's going on inside your own head? It's a challenging thought, and it's exactly what this story is all about.
Now, before the Israelites could even think about facing their external enemies, their leader, Moses, had to deal with a threat from the inside. And I mean really inside, from his own brother and sister. This little family drama is the perfect setup, kind of like a preview for the huge crisis of faith that's about to hit everyone.
This is a classic iceberg situation, where what you see on the surface is not the real issue at all. So the excuse they used to criticize Moses was his wife. But when you dig a little deeper, the text makes it crystal clear what was really going on. It was pure, simple envy. They just couldn't handle the fact that God had this unique, direct relationship with Moses.
Well, God's response was, let's just say, swift and decisive. He steps in immediately, and he doesn't just defend Moses, he holds him up as the prime example of humility, the total opposite of the envy his siblings were showing. God makes it clear, my relationship with Moses is different. I speak to him face to face, not in riddles like I do with others.
And the consequences were serious. Miriam, who seems to have been the ringleader, is struck with leprosy. Now Aaron, as the high priest, is spared, but he has to watch his sister suffer. And in a move that just shows you exactly who Moses was, he immediately prays for her to be healed. But she still had to be confined outside the camp for 7 days. A very public lesson to everyone about how poisonous envy really is.
All right, so with that internal mess sorted out, at least for the moment, the nation can finally turn its attention to the mission at hand. It was time to scout out the land of Canaan, the land they'd been promised for generations. This was a huge deal, a really high-stakes operation.
So the instructions were super specific. It was a proper recon mission. They were to choose one leader from each of the 12 tribes. Their job was to go in, gather intel, check out the people, the fortifications, see what the land was like, and then come back in 40 days with a full report. Pretty straightforward, right?
But then, right here, before they even leave, Moses does something that seems kinda minor, but trust me, it is everything. He changes one of the spies' names. A guy named Hoshea, which means salvation, gets renamed Joshua, which means the Lord is salvation. Just adding that one little piece to his name completely reframes his identity. It's a statement of worldview, and it's going to be the key to this whole story.
So 40 days pass. The spies return. You can imagine the whole camp is buzzing, waiting to hear what they found. And the first report, delivered by 10 of the 12 spies, is an absolute disaster. It's so negative, and the fear just spreads like wildfire.
Wow, this one quote just says it all, doesn't it? It is the sound of total self-defeat. Think about it. These are the people who were just freed from slavery in Egypt, but they're still thinking like slaves. They saw themselves as insignificant little grasshoppers. And worse, they projected that feeling onto their enemies, assuming the giants saw them that way too. Their fear had become their reality.
So let's break down this report, which is basically a laundry list of fear. On one hand, yeah, they admit the land is amazing, that it flows with milk and honey. But in the very next breath, they say it devours its inhabitants, probably meaning it's a place of constant war. They saw powerful people, massive cities, and the cherry on top, giants. For every single positive, they had a negative that completely wiped it out in their minds.
But that wasn't the only report. That wasn't the whole story. 2 of the spies, Caleb and our guy, the newly named Joshua, saw the exact same things, but they came back with a radically different story.
Talk about a contrast. While the other 10 are freaking out about being grasshoppers, Caleb steps up, quiets the panicked crowd, and just lays it out with total confidence. There's no fear here, no hesitation, just a simple, powerful belief, we can do this, let's go. And this is the absolute key to understanding everything. The raw data, it was identical. Everybody saw the same giants. Everybody saw the same fortified cities. But one group looked at that data and saw a dead end, an impossible obstacle. The other group looked at the very same data and saw an opportunity, a promise just waiting for them to claim it.
So this brings us right to the heart of it, the big lesson of this whole story. The difference between success and failure here had nothing to do with the size of the giants. It had everything to do with the size of their faith. It all boiled down to perspective.
And now we come full circle, back to that name change. Remember Joshua, the Lord is salvation? His name was his perspective. His entire worldview was baked right into it. He wasn't focused on how big the enemy was. He was focused on how big the God who made the promise was. His reality was shaped by what he believed, not just what he saw.
So really, it all boils down to this one simple conflict. Trust in your sight or trust in the promise. The 10 spies trusted what they could see with their own eyes. They saw giants, they saw walls, and the result was fear, paralysis. Caleb and Joshua, on the other hand, trusted the promise. They saw the same things, but through a totally different lens, a lens of faith. And for them, the result was courage and a call to action.
And so we end right where we started, with a question for you. When you face your own giants, and we all have them, right? In your career, in your relationships, in your personal goals, there are always going to be two competing reports. There's the report of fear, the one that lists all the reasons why you're going to fail, why you're just a grasshopper, and then there's the report of faith, the one that focuses on the promise of what's possible. So the question is, which report will you believe?